What time is it? 4:30. Yeah, never know. Sundays are weird. I never know who's going to turn up on a Sunday. I'm not even sure I'll turn up on a Sunday. No one's here yet. That's very unusual. I'll just sit here all by myself waiting. There we go. Hello. Just here waiting for you to turn up. Sitting here all by myself waiting. I always think of that song, All by Myself. If you're just tuning in, I'm not a singer, obviously. Anyway, okay. So I'm just here to answer your parenting questions. This is one of my unscheduled lives. Hi from Australia. Hello, Resilient Stories. So my kids are born and raised in Australia. I have a few Australian clients right now. I get clients from all over the world. Australia is kind of tricky because I lived there for 20 years. That's not why it's tricky, but it's because of the time difference. So yeah, I always forget. Is it really early for me or late? I always get that mixed up. I was really good at doing that when I lived in Australia, but now I'm not as good at it. Okay. I always thought when I was in Australia, Canada was 18 hours ahead. That's how I always did it in my head. Behind. So I'd add 6 hours and then it was yesterday. Okay, so what are your parenting questions? That's what I'm here for. I'm just a Q&A, answering your questions. If you go on the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses. You can check out my big boot camp course. It's all about your leadership from the ages of 3 to 12, not you, but your kids. And then you can apply for coaching if you're interested. Check that out. Okay, how do you boost confidence if you've been a little rattled? Leaders tend to have confident kids because they have a voice. I don't teach authority-style parenting. I want kids to have a voice. I don't want to squelch their personality or their basic nature. I just want to teach them how to respect people because I respect them to get it back. So it tends to boost their confidence. Kids who have a leader tend to be more confident. It's just the way it is. So it's all you. Everything's you. From the age of 3 to 12 years old, their behavior is a direct result of your parenting and a lot of their self-esteem too. Kids without a leader tend to have low self-esteem, lower self-esteem because they don't feel as secure. Yeah. They're not as sure of themselves because they're not sure about the choices they're making. Leaders teach their kids how to make good choices, and kids have a lot of pride, which leads to confidence, which leads to self-esteem. By the way, confidence and self-esteem are not always related. You can have really high self-esteem but not be confident and get up in front of people, and yet other people can get up and do theater and be confident that way but have very low self-esteem. They're actually quite different. But if you're a leader, they generally have more confidence and high self-esteem anyway. Okay, what can I do for a 6-year-old hitting while in tantrum mode? He is hitting things around him. Okay, the problem is he's having tantrums at 6 years old. That says to me that tantrums work. If you have a 6-year-old who's still having tantrums, it's kind of irrelevant what they're doing during them because they've already lost their nut at that point. But yeah, a 6-year-old still having tantrums, it says you're not a leader. They're emotionally kind of frazzled, okay? Leaders tend to raise calmer children because you're calm and, you can be crazy fun. But when you're disciplining and talking about anything serious, you're more calm and it calms them down. So work on your leadership skills. Check out my boot camp course. That might be for you. It's for kids 3 to 12 years old. Their behavior is 100% in that age group a direct result of your parenting. You lead, they will follow. It's a natural instinct for children to follow a good leader. Not everybody, but a good leader. And if you're not a leader for your children at home, they're more likely to be susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to go searching out a leader elsewhere. You want to be the leader for them. Okay, parenting questions. But this is on YouTube. What games do you like for 4-year-old boys besides making cubbies? Yeah, just look at it. YouTube has way more ideas than I do. Just look up fun activities for 4-year-olds. And yeah, look that up. I could give you a few ideas, but YouTube's way better than that than I am. I have a child who's ADHD. He has a real tough time with transitions. A lot of kids do. Any suggestions? It's so tough. Yeah, well, that's where I learned all this with kids who, I call them alphabet kids. They had WXYZ after their name, ADHD, whatever. So yeah, that's where I learned all this. Set yourself up as a leader, and their transitions, their emotions tend to calm down. The transitions get easier. Everything gets easier when they have a leader. They feel safe. They feel secure. They have higher confidence, higher self-esteem. They like themselves. Your goal as a leader parent is for your children to like themselves. If you're the source of that, they like themselves when they're with you. You think they're going to be rude to you? You think see what I mean? It kind of takes care of itself. All that behavior tends to take care of itself when you're a leader. Remember, we're never fixing kids here. We're teaching parents. You lead, they will follow. It's a natural instinct for a child to follow a good leader. So set yourself up as a leader and you won't have problems with your kids. It's very rare. Behavioral problems. Okay, just waiting for comments, questions. I love it when someone attacks me in the comments. I went through a bunch of comments this morning. Someone attacks me in the comments and people come into the rescue because it's someone who hasn't been watching me for a while. They think I'm mean. I can see that. I come across pretty harsh. But yeah, I love it when people come in and say, well, what she actually meant for that. So I don't even have to answer those comments. You answer it for me. I really appreciate that. Well, that wasn't here on Facebook. Probably happens on Facebook too. I know I just did Instagram today. But I do notice that across the board. I really appreciate your support. And it's not that you're like a fan, but you just get what I'm saying. So you're able to clarify the message, right? Okay. Just waiting for your questions. In the meantime, I'm going to point out these are my top 3 leadership qualities. Okay. These are kind of for all ages. Toddlers, not so much, but even then, yeah. Okay, these are my top 3 leadership qualities as a parent. Number 1 is you stay calm during the storms. So when the kids are all upset, they're having a tantrum, they don't like the word no, they don't like the transitions, all that stuff, you stay very calm. It's very important you stay calm. Don't get all crazy like they are, okay? You stay calm during the storms. Number 2 is you can get crazy during the rainbows. What I mean by that is when you're playing with kids, you can be nuts, you can be crazy. So it's not like you have to be calm all the time. Quite the opposite. I was nuts, right? I was real loud, very gregarious mother. So, but my kids were very well behaved, so I didn't have to be calm. I was allowed to be crazy. So yeah, when everything's fun and the kids are well behaved, then you can be as crazy as you want, but not during the storms, okay? And number 3 is be a great listener. You use these more than that. That was a challenge for me because I'm a talker, but I know it works. So you listen to understand and show empathy, even when they're really quite young. Like my mom, if I went to my mom with a problem, and I would have been little, like 3, Mommy, what should I do? She goes, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And then we talk about it. I always thought I was problem solving all my own stuff. Really, mom was probably feeding me ideas, but you see, you want to encourage them to think for themselves, but you're there helping them out. You're guiding them. You're a leader, right? So yeah, that's it. Be calm during the storms, crazy during the rainbows, and be a great listener. I need the age. I can't answer questions without an age. Okay, 3.5-year-old daughter's having a hard time having her blankie removed for bedtime. Was becoming a dental issue with her chewing. Yeah, oops. With her chewing on it. Thanks, love your advice. 3.5-year-old daughter. I would just say, the problem with that is that she can have it sometimes, but not others. So she can have it except at bedtime. Makes it a little bit harder. It's not that I would take it away permanently, but I would say, at bedtime from now on, and you give her something else. Give her something else that she's not going to chew on, hopefully, but something else to replace it. You don't just take something away, you give them something else to replace it with. So yeah, it's a tough one though. Anything that's like those oral habits, like sucking their thumbs with a dummy, that kind of stuff, they're very difficult. So I don't have a perfect answer. I don't have a perfect answer for anything, but that one is particularly tricky. But she's old enough to understand that you're not going to have that when you're sleeping now. It's not bad for you. It's not good for your teeth or whatever. And say, but here, you can have this when you go to bed. It's going to be ugly. Yeah, she's not going to like it, but she'll adjust. They do. They survive better than you do with this stuff. Yeah, you have to put an age. Something about negative self-talk. Is that the same one? Just to say, okay, it is, Rochelle. 3.5-year-old is always very negative with words. Says she's bad, drawings are sad, says she'll spit and kick and punch if she's upset. Is that something she's heard? It could be, but the fact that she's repeating it, she's 3.5, that says she has very low self-esteem. It says to me you're not a leader because it tends to calm them down. Negative self-talk comes from them feeling insecure. So you tend to build their feeling of security when you're a leader. Are you a pleaser? Pleasers tend to have kids who act more like that because you're always saying, what do you want? Here's your choices. You can do this. If you don't want that, you can have that. They feel lost. And they do tend to. Negative self-talk is often their way of asking for help, their way of asking for leadership. So I'm guessing you're a pleaser. That doesn't usually happen with the authority, the old-fashioned authority style, or the leader. It happens most with the pleaser because they feel lost. They feel more lost they feel taken care of with an authority. They don't always like it, and they usually rebel in the teen years. But a leader, they feel very well taken care of and confident, and they don't rebel in the teen years. Pleasers, they never feel secure and confident, and they rebel anyway because they never respect you. So yeah, I'm guessing you're a pleaser. Work on that. You want to be a leader, okay? Anyway, check out my boot camp course. That might be for you. It's in the link above. What can I do for my 6-year-old who constantly tells me no when given instructions? So who cares? They can say whatever they want. But if they don't do what they need to do, then there's a consequence. Check out the behavior board. It's free. Behavior board teaches you how to do this. So here's the expectation. Here's the rule. If you don't do it, there's a consequence. Like I used to tell my kids, your choice. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Or you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You don't have to don't do, you know what I'm saying? I think I said the same thing twice, didn't I? Anyway, yeah, it was all their choice. But I know how to impose a consequence. If you make a good choice, that's great. If you make a bad choice, I'm going to have to step in here with, with a consequence. So yeah, I don't care what they say no. It means nothing to me. Yeah. And they don't tend to say no to a leader, though. When you're a leader, they just don't. They don't give you any sass. They just don't. My son was 15, and he says, I could never rebel because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to. I'm like, thank you. Yeah. You don't give them anything to rebel against. Like I never repeat myself. If something has to be done, I say, okay, we're going to school now. You better be by the front door in 5 minutes. No, I take action. I don't say anything after that. I take action. So yeah, I make sure that I bring them to the front door and I say it's happening. And if they really fight me, I'll say we'll discuss it after school. They'd probably get no media that night, no TV or no screens that night. So, and they know that. They know when you know how to take action. They don't, why would they fight you if they know you're going to take action? If they know you're going to do something about it, they just don't. Like if you knew for sure you were going to get a speeding ticket, if you knew there was a radar, what do they call those places? You know, those things, the speed things, the guns, whatever. What do they call that? Anyway, if you knew that was up ahead, would you still keep speeding? No. If the kids know there's going to be a consequence for a bad choice, would they keep doing it? No. They're going to try for a while, yes. But why would they? They don't make it. It doesn't make any sense. They just don't tend to do it if they know for sure you know what you're doing and there's going to be a consequence. It's no anger. Just say, oh, you broke a rule or you didn't do what you're supposed to do. Here's the consequence. That's it. Check out the behavior board. It's completely free. Next level up is the boot camp course. That's 3 to 12 years old. It's all about you and your leadership. You lead, they will follow, they'll respect you. It takes 5 weeks to do that. Or you can apply for coaching. I'm really busy these days, so I can't take everyone on. But anyway. And don't just ask me about coaching. Go and look on my website and really think it, because it's an investment, and really think, do I really need this or do I just need the boot camp course? 3 to 12 years old, that might be all you need. That might be what I push you towards anyway, if I don't really think you need. Some people want that one-on-one personal stuff, but and also if you're in crisis, put down crisis, and that's life and death stuff. I specialize in teenagers. So put crisis in the subject line. I always take you on if you're in crisis, life and death stuff. So. And then past clients, you come after the crisis ones. But I can't always take you right away. Okay, anyway. I have a 7-year-old son who has a hard time losing games, total meltdowns. Okay, that means that he's a right fighter. That means that losing is something to be ashamed of. My mom used to always say, you're such a good sport. And she said that to my brother too. And I never quite understood why she was so proud of that. I used to think, what's that? What does that even mean? I didn't get it. What's a good sport? What's a bad sport? I didn't understand that. But as I grew up, I understood that my brother and I both play to win. We do. We want to win. But if we don't, it doesn't mean anything to us. Like losing is fine too. As long as we did our best. Mom used to focus on how well we played, not whether or not we won or lost. So you play to win, but you don't care if you win, if that makes any sense. Like it's not a big deal if you lose. There was no shame in losing. And neither my brother and I are right fighters. I was more that way when I was young. I'm certainly not like that now. But right fighters also, it's that same poor sportsmanship. They can't be wrong. They can't lose. It's all insecurity based. So yeah, set yourself up as a leader. It's less likely to happen, but also don't focus on the winning, focus on how well they play. And do what my mom did. You're such good sports. Never understood that. But who cares? What is that? Anyway, she was my hero. I love my mom. We all love our moms, but she was one of those that all my friends and everyone said, boy, you lucked out. I really did. I was adopted. I really lucked out. Got great parents. And my mom was the leader. My dad was the pleaser. Like I would say to my dad, Daddy, can I please have it? I'd whisper so mom couldn't hear. Daddy, can I please have it? Sure, sweetie pie. You can have whatever you want. But let's check with mom first. Oh, never mind. Guess I knew mom was the leader. So and it was the same with me. I was the leader. My ex-husband was the pleaser. And it works. You only need one leader. As long as the pleaser defers to the leader. Yeah. I need to know an age. I can't answer without an age. Are they 16, 6, 16 months? Makes a big difference. Newcomer. Oh, welcome, Kimberly. Appreciate your posts. I have a 1 and a 3-year-old. Do you have resources for those younger years? Yeah, I have toddler courses. My mini toddler courses. One is on kids who hit, one is on potty training, one is on tantrums, and one is on bedtime battles. Those are all my toddler courses. But at 3, the boot camp course kicks in. I would suggest if you're going to, and the boot camp course sort of has all those other ones in it that might apply to the age of 3. What was I going to say about that? Oh yeah, if you have a 1 and a 3-year-old, I would suggest getting the boot camp course because the little toddler stuff, it's going to take care of itself with that boot camp course. In other words, the toddler's watching you with a 3-year-old. So, pardon me. Oh, it felt just like a little bug went down my throat. Yikes. And I can't eat bugs because I'm vegan. So anyway, bad joke. Okay. 11-year-old son has been wanting to be on electronics more and more. Yeah, especially with boys. Just a sec, I lost it. Things scrolled forward just a second. Oh, sugar. I can't find it now. Just a sec. Every so often it just, okay. 11-year, I'm going to hang on to it here. 11-year-old, oh, sugar, darn it. 11-year-old son has been wanting to be on electronics more and more and more. How should I address about regulating screen time? Perfect. I call it media management. I have lots of videos out there on it. So there's 3 different ways of managing media. You can have a certain slotted time of the day where they can be on it, like 7 to 8, whatever. Or you can have an amount of time every day. You got 1 hour a day. I don't like either one of those. The one I like is you can say something like this. You got 10 hours a week or whatever you want. Don't worry about the hours. I don't know what's best or what's worst. I don't know. So go something like this. You got 10 hours a week. You decide when you watch it. But it can only be in certain, when I say it's okay, like you can't get up at 2 in the morning and do it, right? So it's up to them to decide how they're going to do that. Now, if you've never been a leader before, they're probably going to binge and use it all up by Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they've used all 10 hours. Let them do that. It's very important. This kid's 11. It's very important that they learn this, how to do this stuff themselves. Then they've got no media, nothing, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's going to be hell. But boy, oh boy, will they respect you after that. They're not going to show it though, but they're going to be mad. But then next week, I guarantee they're going to learn a lesson that week. The sooner you teach them lessons, the better. Anyway, and then you keep track of the minutes though. So that would be 600 minutes. You keep track of the minutes that are on there. So it's up to you to keep track of it, but let them decide when they do it. Yeah, it's going to get ugly because especially if you're not a leader to start with, it's going to get ugly because they're not going to believe that you're not going to give in. Pleasers give in. You might be a pleaser. Most parents who watch me are pleasers. Some authorities, because the authority backfires as they get older. The old-fashioned authority style, it backfires when they're teenagers. So a lot of people hire me who are authorities, and everyone else is all pleasers. What do you do about a 2-year-old pitching a fit about everything? Not much. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Okay, so 1 or 2 of these might help. These are my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1 is child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You watch them play and then join in. You might want to go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They just look at you differently when you enter their world. It's more of a connection. They're more likely to listen to you. Number 4 is kind of similar. You discipline them in their world, not your world. You know these mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions? That's garbage. That was invented to make the mom feel good. It has nothing to do with the toddler. Nothing. It's totally just for the mom. Anyway, because they're not listening, they're watching you. So they need consistent corrective actions right in the moment because they learn through repetition. It's not going to work the first time or the 10th, maybe the 50th time. And then the last one is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They've got 1 marble and some tumbleweed floating around in here. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years, and for one of those years, you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like, come on, they're just forming. I always call them crazy. They just haven't developed sanity yet. They're just not there yet. So, yeah, most parents, your expectations of a toddler are completely out of whack. They're just crazy, right? They're just forming. Cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Suggestions for rewards we can use. Yeah, I don't give rewards. What do you mean by that? Is that the reward chart kind of idea? I can't stand that. If you have a reward chart at home, it works at school. Schools are institutions, they're businesses, they're not personal. Home is personal. You never use a reward chart at home. A reward chart sends this message to a child. You're normally rotten. If you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. You see, you're rewarding just for baseline behavior. I don't do that at all. That's my baseline expectation, is you be respectful and polite. And then my kids, I remember they both asked me this because they had friends who were misbehaving all the time, and they would get rewards for being good. And my kids would say, how come we're good all the time? How come we don't get rewards? I said, having me as a mother is reward enough. And they go, okay, never mind. So yeah, but I mean, we had a fun life because they never had to be disciplined. So, but my baseline expectation is good behavior. Now, a behavior board says to a child, you're normally wonderful. If you should happen to do something bad, I know how to deal with it. See the message? See the shift? You don't. Watch the rewards. Parents overdo that. Rewarding good behavior and even chores. I don't pay for chores. Rewarding that stuff is it's like quicksand. They're not going to want to do anything, or they're not going to want to be nice unless they get a reward. They're going to go out there in the world. Well, I'm not going to hold the door open for you. What are you going to give me? Like, there's a sense of entitlement. Yeah, you're sending the wrong message to your kids. Parents, and another thing that's kind of similar is parents tend to overpraise. They tend to think that praising children gets good behavior. It doesn't do anything. You're wonderful. I love you. You're very special. You know that. You're so good. I know you're not going to hit your little brother anymore. You're such a good boy because you know that hurt. They're not listening. That's a bunch of crap. Yeah, they learn through consequences. Praise is overrated. It does nothing. Nothing. Not once have I ever seen a kid think that through. Wait a minute, I was just told I'm good, therefore I will be. It's just garbage. But they might stop and think, you know what? If I kick the dog, I might lose TV tonight. See, consequences is what gets what you want. But we all live that way. Like, if the police said to you, you're a wonderful driver, you'd still speed, right? But if he said, I'm going to give you a ticket if you speed, you're going to stop speeding. See what I'm saying? We all learn through consequences. I'm not saying don't praise your kids and don't do nice things for them, but don't expect to get good behavior using those tactics. They're very weak. They're done by the please your parents style, which is a disaster. You're always trying to please your kids, and it's a disaster. There's no leadership in it, and they end up treating you like a dish rag. When they're teenagers, oh my God, does it backfire? That actually starts to backfire around 8 or 9 especially. Okay, I'm going to point this out. Been doing consistent corrective actions for over 4 months. 2-year-old, almost 3, still hurts brother a lot. Been 10 months of her doing this. Yeah, you might be missing something. Like, you might want to hire me. I don't know. Doing consistent corrective actions, if you're not also playing with them a lot, showing them how to play with their little brother or sister, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. If you're really struggling, you might want to look into coaching, and you have to apply for that if you're interested. But yeah, I don't know what else you're not doing or doing wrong. I don't know. I have to assess that. So it does work, but it does take a while. 4 months is a bit long though. So yeah. Like, that's the thing is, and I respect the fact that you're using some of my methods, but it's kind of a package too. Like, if you're doing something really well, but you're doing something else wrong, like are you using timeout or anything? That's a disaster. I hate timeout. So that's the whole problem is that you can take snippets. It's like diets. Someone can talk about how good an apple is for you. So eat 20 apples a day, and then you can't figure out why you're not losing weight. It's because you're also eating potato chips. You see what I mean? Like, it's a whole package. So everything goes together. Because I always say with toddlers, you got to play a lot with them too. That's how you enter their world and you bond with them. That's how you bond with toddlers. They're going to listen to you more when you bond with them. And you play in their world, not your world. You don't sit and watch them play like that. You get down the mud and roll around with them. I remember once I was rolling down the hill, just about threw up. Anyway, I was rolling down the hill with one of my kids in a park, and other mothers were sitting there watching me. And what are you doing? I didn't know how to answer that. Like, I'm in their world. I'm playing with them. And they couldn't figure out why my kids were so easy and theirs weren't. It's because I'm rolling down the hill with them. Makes a difference. Oh, by the way, your children's love language is play and fun. That is their love language. It's not being told you're wonderful. It's you play with them. Go roll down the hill. Play in the mud with them. That is their love language. You watch a child that you've just said, you're wonderful, you're special, I love you. This is their face. And the difference is, and then you go and do the dishes, and they're like this. Instead, if you say to a kid, hey, what are you doing? Can I play too? This is their face. See the difference? Praise is overrated. It's okay, you can do it, but don't do it instead of play. Most parents overpraise and underplay. Big mistake. Better to overplay and underpraise. Did I say that right? I think I did. Anyway, doesn't matter, you know what I mean. Okay, oops, I gotta move over to Instagram now. If you wanna join me over there, you can follow me. It's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses. You can get my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. It's all about you and your leadership. It's 5 weeks. It's all paced out for you. It starts you nice and slow. So it's I don't start you off like, oh my God, this is hell. Anyway, and then, or you can look into coaching, and you have to apply for that by email because I can't take everyone on these days. So thanks so much for joining me. And I'm on YouTube the whole time. And now I'm moving over to Instagram. Sorry, YouTube, I just have to move over here. Instagram. Done. Okay, so YouTube. I'm Grandma, love your influence. Thank you so much. I'm a grandmother too. I get a lot of questions on that. How do I tell my daughter or daughter-in-law that she's doing something wrong? I say, you don't. It's none of your business. It's their kids, not yours. A lot of grandmothers hate me for that. I never say anything. That's none of my business. But if I'm babysitting, grandma's rules. Never micromanage someone else. If you trust someone enough to babysit your kids, don't tell them how to do it. You know, see what I mean? Doesn't make any sense. Okay. Hi, Lisa. Hello. Okay. So what was another one here? I read your bio the other day. What kind of work? Oh, good. Okay. Oh, interesting. I thought you were just going to ask my qualifications, because people often send me emails. They want to know about coaching qualifications and all that stuff. So I say, ask me in a live, because I think it's important for other people to hear this too. Like, what are my qualifications? So, but anyway, this is, I read your bio the other day. What kind of work have you done? Any tips for building self-leadership, personal self-confidence? Okay, well, my bio, what kind of work have you done? I've spent the last 52 years volunteering with kids. So I started 11 years old volunteering in daycare centers. And even back then, the daycare ladies used to say, how do you do that? They think you're fun, but they listen to you. I didn't know how to answer that. I was a leader. I always kind of understood kids. And I got better at it throughout the decades, obviously. But then I ended up mentoring troubled teenagers. And it's all volunteer. Anyway, then I ended up mentoring troubled teenagers. And they're the ones who told me, you got to teach this, Lisa. No one's ever talked to us like you do. And one of them said, I never liked myself till I met you. Yeah, you got to build up you got to build them up. You got to make them like themselves, and then they're going to want to please you. Because if someone makes you feel good about yourself, aren't you nice to them? That's what I did. I made kids feel good about themselves. So then they wanted to please me, or they didn't want to disappoint me. Okay. What are your qualifications? Yeah, I just answered that. So I have none. And I was going to be a child psychologist, I thought. Thank God I never did that. When I was 20, I took a course, a prerequisite course. I thought I'll be a child psychologist. Obviously, that's what I was going to do. So anyway, they kicked me out after a week because I asked too many questions, because what they were teaching was garbage. This was back in 1980. I'm sure they've improved it by now, but it was so patronizing, holier than thou, the way that you talk to kids. Always, it is very patronizing. Use your words, all that garbage. Oh, God. Oh, if I was a kid and someone talked to me like that, I'd go, what are you doing? Anyway, so, and then also the other students started asking me questions, because I had so much experience with kids before I even took that course. Thank God I was not meant to be under that umbrella, because I would not have been a good fit at all. I should have held out and not let them kick me out, so they would have paid me double to get rid of me, I'll tell you. Anyway, so I realized that wasn't for me. And then I just continued volunteering in hospitals, facilities for severely handicapped children. I went to detention centers, psych wards. I was always volunteering with kids. So I was good at it. I just was. I just understand kids. I think that part came naturally. Teaching it is another thing. I don't teach what I did. I learned all that with all those other kids. My kids were a piece of cake because I already had so much experience with kids, right? But I teach differently from what I did, because you don't have 52 years to learn this, right? So anyway, but those are my qualifications. That's it. Huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, daycare workers, and child psychologists. They identify that those are institutions, those are business relationships with children. I don't teach that. I teach personal parenting, one-on-one, at-home based parenting. It's very different. A lot of stuff like I couldn't do their jobs, and they struggle with parenting. So, but I couldn't do their jobs either. So they're very different. Some stuff overlaps, but a lot doesn't. business, institution, home, personal. Parenting's different from any of those other things. So, hi, my 2-year-old only wants daddy. She won't let mommy do anything for her. She says, go away, mommy. So I'd say, well, I'm all you got, so tough luck. Yeah, she's just puppet strings. You're the puppet. Yeah, she's power tripping. Too bad. All you got is mommy. Oh, well, you'll survive. Yeah, I wouldn't bother me at all. My 6-year-old's very high energy. Okay. It takes him 3.5 times to get him to listen when he's in the zone and he loves to be the one. Well, if there were consequences to not doing what he needs to do when he needs to do it, he would probably learn. So you got to teach. You can't self-regulate someone else, but you can teach them. You teach self-discipline by disciplining them first, and then they learn to do it themselves. So the whole point is, here's the rule. If you don't follow the rule, then there's a consequence. Your choice. Your choice. He'll learn. He's 6. He can learn. 3-year-olds are on that behavior board. They can learn. They don't understand it at first, but they learn as they go. So the behavior board is quite daunting. You use pictures in that for a 3-year-old. You explain it all, and then they just forget about it. But they learn as you go. At 3, they're old enough to stop and think before they act. They won't always do it, but they're old enough to learn how to stop and think before they act. That impulse control, they can start getting it. Under the age of 3, not really. Should I go into this? Toddlers can learn to not do something, but they don't really stop and think before they don't do it. They don't do it because it's a knee-jerk reaction. If you've consistently used consistent corrective actions to stop a toddler from doing something naughty, eventually they don't do it because they learn. They don't even think about it. It's like a hot oven. They'll touch it a few times and then they just won't touch it again, but they won't really think it through. It's just a knee-jerk reaction because there was a negative reaction to doing that. So they just it's a different way of learning. I know I had one of my child psychologist clients explain that. They can learn, but it takes longer and it's a knee-jerk reaction kind of. They explained it in very fancy terms and I said, I will never say that in my whole life. It's way too fancy for me. But anyway, so they do learn differently, but they can still learn. It takes a lot longer. But by the age of 3, they can stop and think before they act. They can learn how to do that. It takes a while. The older they get, the easier it gets. Okay. Oops, I got to scroll ahead because people come and go, and I just have to go through a whole bunch of questions that I have to miss. Okay. 16-month-old pushing others over all the time, then looks at me and smiles. Okay, if they're hurting other people, you have to physically restrain them. You say no, and then you remove them from the other kids for a minute or so. And then watch him like a hawk. And as soon as he goes for someone else, you say no and you intervene, then pull him away from the fun. Keep doing that. Yeah, it's difficult, but isn't it worth a week of doing that to solve the problem? It'll probably come back again, though. And then it'll go away quicker when you use this action. Consistent corrective action, pull them away from the fun. Okay, had a conflict with an 11-year-old explosive child. I'm going to contradict that. We planned on going out for family dinner. He was tired and wanted to skip dinner. Should I make him come along or allow him to skip out? Okay, explosive child, what do you mean by that? Is it that you don't know how to talk to him so he doesn't get explosive, or has he just got some mental disability? Yeah, are you pushing his buttons? Are you being condescending and patronizing? That's usually what causes the explosions at 11 years old. Not at 2, but by 11, yeah, it's how you talk to them. So, yeah, I'm questioning that explosive child thing. You're labeling him, and I'm saying it's probably you. Their behavior between the ages of 3 and 12 years old is 100% a direct result of your parenting. 100%. 3 and 12. So that explosion is caused by you. You're lighting the fire. You just don't see it. If you want to hire me, you can apply for coaching, or you can just check out my boot camp course. That might be all you need. So I can't answer that. Should I let him skip out? I don't know your relationship. I'd need to assess that situation before I could give you any sound advice. My 4-year-old continues to hit me, only me, no one else. Okay, you're not a leader. They don't respect you. Work on your leadership skills. That's all this is. Their behavior is a direct result of your parenting. Between the ages of 3 and 12, my boot camp course that's when you're at the height of your leadership, 3 to 12 years old. Because they're not toddlers anymore, so they can stop and think before they act. And they're not teens anymore. Hormones haven't kicked in big time yet. That's what makes all the difference, by the way. So yeah, 3 to 12 years old. Work on your leadership skills, and they don't hit you. They don't do any of that stuff. My kids in a million years wouldn't have done something like that because they liked themselves when they were with me. They liked me. They liked how I made them feel about themselves. So why would they hit me? I was the source of their high self-esteem, their confidence. They liked themselves when they were with me. So why would they do that? Doesn't make any sense. That's the power of leadership. There's no disciplining. Once you get there, you don't even have to discipline them. Like, it's just easy. It's just a mutual respective relationship. You just talk everything through. It's that easy. Getting respect is hard. Maintaining it's a piece of cake. When I'm coaching people, the first 2 weeks are often hell, I'll be honest. Anyway, by week 3, I often see this and they go, I'm getting it. And they say the kids are looking at me different. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it works. But I only tell them what to do. They do the work. I always say that, don't give me credit. I'm just here to give you the information. You're the ones doing the work. And once they start to feel that shift, that power, like over their own emotions, the parents, they start to calm down and they know what to do, then everything gets easier. I see it all the time. Well, every day, obviously, because that's what I do every day. How do you make others feel good about themselves? You guide them into making good choices so they're proud of themselves. That's how. When I was working with troubled teens, they would say to me, I didn't like myself till I met you. One of them in particular, I know more than one said it, but one in particular that sticks out in my mind. I didn't like myself until I met you. Because I deal with bad behavior, but I focus on the good kid. The pool story says it all. The pool story, if you're new here, you wouldn't have heard it, but it's maybe 2 weeks ago. If you look up pool story somewhere, Bratbusters, and look up pool story, it should turn up. And it's my best example of what this is all about. I do not ignore. I don't let anything go. I deal with bad behavior, but I focus on the good kid. I deal with bad behavior very quickly, very calmly, and then I focus on the good kid. Oh, should I go into this? If you want me to explain how I make that shift, really how fast and why, I will. But if not, if you ask me to do that, like the fast shift, how I do it, just let me know and I'll explain it. Parents often laugh at me when I show them how you do it, but it works. It just works. Okay. ADHD, ASD, I don't discuss. All these kids I worked with had ADHD, or almost all of them. So that's where I learned all this. My own kids didn't, but that's all. They were easy because they just didn't have that. But all the kids that I worked with, I always work with challenging kids, so. And ASD, I don't discuss that on here. That is coaching. That's autism spectrum disorder. That's more of a specialty, and I don't generalize. I can't give any general answers with autism. Oh, show the fast shift. Okay, the fast shift. Let's say a kid has 24-hour media blackout. So check out the behavior board of the boot camp course, and if you've worked with me, you know what that means. There's always 2 consequences for the kids. If they break a rule, there's a positive action consequence, okay? So you say, okay, so you broke that rule, and now you have to do this, like clean the window or something, whatever, it's no big deal. Then they say, no, I'm not going to do it. And I would say, okay, that's fine. Then media blackout starts now for 24 hours. Do you understand? And that's how I say it. Fine, I'll clean the windows now. I know it's too late. Media blackout started 30 seconds ago. So anyway, it's happening. Now they're mad, okay? This is you. They're mad as anything. They're yelling at you. Just go, it's your choice. And then just shut it down, okay? You can walk away. Don't walk away to avoid them. Walk away to go and do chores. Like, oh yeah, I have to wash the dishes. It's kind of like that. Like you're not angry at all or anything. Here's the shift. They're mad as anything. They're yelling at you. Then they calm down. Now they calm down, and this is you. Well, if you're doing 24-hour media blackout, I'm doing it with you. Do you want to play a game? They go, I hate you. No, and say, fine, never mind. And then you let them calm down again. Could be a half hour, whatever. Then you say, you ready for that game now? It looks ridiculous, but if you keep doing this, they'll eventually give in, or even if they don't, you're sending the message, I still love you. I'm doing it with you. I want to spend time with you. And then often, especially when they're younger, they will eventually join in. Oh, do you want to play hide and seek instead? They'll usually join in. And then next thing you know, you're having fun with your kids, but there's still 24-hour media blackout. You're still sending the message, you broke a rule, here's the consequence. But you're not a bad kid. I still love you. Want to play? Want to go to the park? Want to read a book? You see, that's that shift. There's the rule. 24-hour media blackout starts now. And as soon as they calm down, want to read a book? Looks ridiculous. Parents always laugh at me in coaching because it's not passive aggressive even. It's just, I still love you. My mother was brilliant at that. I get a lot from her. I can remember that. I thought I'd do something she didn't like, and then she'd say, "Okay, well, this," and then she'd say, "Oh, do you want to play a game?" I was like, "Aren't you mad at me?" But I understood it, as I was getting older. But yeah, she kind of did that. There was no anger. Just because you do something wrong, you shouldn't. Just because your kids make a mistake doesn't mean you don't love them. You got to keep showing them how lovable they are. Oh, I can't tell you this story. I tell a lot of stories in coaching. Some of them are a bit over the top. Never mind. It's a good story, but it's too much for on here. Okay, I got a million stories. Okay, let me see here. Oh, so pleased to have found you on Facebook. My God, thank you, Lisa. You're very welcome. Resilient Stories. Listen, it's just common sense. It's just, there's nothing fancy about anything I teach. It's just common sense. Now, this comes from me studying kids for 52 years. I was always trying to figure them out, and I was always kind of good at it. I can remember when I was 11, I started volunteering in daycare centers. I remember watching kids, and I was trying to figure out what they were thinking. I was 11 and I was doing this. So I always kind of was interested in this stuff. So I remember watching them, and I always thought, all you have to do is understand what they're going through. If I can understand them, I can figure it out. That's all it is. It's simple. But I spent 52 years doing this, so you don't want to do that. You can benefit from all my 52 years of doing this just by watching. Okay. I agree not to tell anyone how to parent, but as an auntie, how do I handle teenage and young adult nieces that are being blatantly unkind, disrespectful? So you're not parenting them, you're talking, well, the teenagers, I wouldn't say anything. But if they're young adults and they disrespect me, I would just say, I'm not talking to you if you can't respect me. I would just say something like that. Well, we'll talk next week or something. I'd have a boundary, but I would never tell anyone else I would never tell someone else's teenager how to act. I don't tell kids what to do anyway. I lead. There's a difference, big difference. I would never tell a kid how to act. Why would I do that? That's not a leader, that's an authority. Yeah. So yeah, really, they're none of your business if they're not your kids. But if it's adult to adult, I would just say, well, if you're not going to respect me, we'll talk next week. But yeah, your other people's children are none of your business. And I know this is a real problem with a lot of grandparents, is they keep criticizing what their kids are doing with their kids. It's none of your business. Like, I got a grandchild, it's none of my business. It's not my child. But if grandma's babysitting, it's grandma's rules. If you trust someone enough to babysit, don't micromanage them. Don't tell them how to do it. But if it's stuff with food and health, obviously I'm, whatever the parents say, right? But if it's just managing them, and yeah, that's you're babysitting, that's different. But I would never tell my kids how to parent. I think that's mean. I truly think it's mean. How do you do a media blackout if you need the TV to distract your kids so you can cook dinner? Husband, you're asking me, how do you give in and discipline? I can't answer that. How do I not discipline is what you're saying. It's hard work. You got to do the work. So yeah, it's like, how do I discipline without doing anything? That's what you're asking me. I can't answer that. Like, everyone wants the rainbow. You got to go through the storm to get there. You have to be willing to go through hell to get there. If you're in hell right now, it's going to get even worse. Okay? Because remember, you built that storm. You built that. You got to go through it to get to the rainbow. Oops. I just had to zip through a whole bunch because people come and go, so I don't want to answer questions that people have already gone. Hi, do you mind if I ask some questions regarding my 2-year-old? Well, I just answer what I see. I don't, you can ask, I might not get to them though. And plus, I don't do a lot of repetitive stuff. If I see a lot of the same kind of questions, I try and mix up with different ages in that too. Okay. Oh, you're going to hate my answer. I disciplined my son for hitting our cat and he continues to hit her. I would rehome the cat. There's no way I would allow an animal to be abused in my house. I'm an animal lover. My kids grew up with animals, and they absolutely would never, ever hurt an animal because they knew that it's just not tolerated at all. I would literally rehome an animal if I couldn't keep them safe. Sorry about that, but I've actually had clients who've rehomed animals. It can even just be temporarily, maybe at a family member's for a month or a year. But yeah, sorry, I don't know what to say. If you can't keep an animal safe, it deserves a better home. Okay. 3-year-old slept perfectly from 0 to 3 and has started getting up every night. How can we keep him in bed if he's scared? Well, I don't know if he's scared, but you might want to check out my bedtime battles course. That'll explain. It's all about bedtime, how to get them there, and then the hard part, how to keep them there all night long. If they're scared, I used to do a boogeyman check. I would say, nope, no boogeyman in here. Nope, no boogeyman in here. Oh, I was terrible though. I could never tease my daughter. She just didn't like being teased. Whereas my son's like me, we love it. I would do a boogeyman check with my son, and I'd open up the cupboard and I go, oh my God, oh, sorry, it's just an empty hanger. It's terrible. So I'd use humor. That was just, he loved that stuff. I'd look under the bed, ow, ow, ow. Oh God, I love parenting. Anyway, so yeah, I'd make fun of it, and then he was fine after that. Or else you can just get those galaxy lights, or use a sound machine, or have a night light. But do a boogeyman check, or whatever you want to call the boogeyman, whatever it is. How do you get your partner involved if they are the fun parent? You say to them, cut you a deal here. I'm going to do this method. And let's say you're following me. So I'm going to do it for 3 weeks. Follow along. If things don't improve, we can go back to what you were doing. In the meantime, you don't have to do anything. Just defer to me. So this is what my dad did, what my ex-husband did. I was the leader. My mom was the leader. So a good example of this is when I would say to my dad, whispering, so mom wouldn't hear, Daddy, can I please have that? And it was something I knew mom wouldn't want me to have. My dad would always say, sure, sweetie pie, you can have whatever you want. Let's just check with mommy first. And I go, oh, never mind. So the pleaser has to defer to the leader. They can still be the pleaser in their personality type. They don't have to discipline. They don't have to do any of that. The discipline, this is the gold though, because when you're the leader, you're the one they go to right through the teen years. They tell you everything. So it actually, and what's funny is the pleaser parent who thinks they're just being the friend, the leader actually becomes the best friend. It's just the way it is. So, and then often the pleaser wants more of that, so they want to become more like the leader. I see this all the time in coaching. They just say, look, I just want, she wants to do all the disciplining, or he wants to do it all. The other parent sees the relationship growing and building and getting more close with the leader, and then they want to do some of that too. So yeah, that's usually the way it works out. Anyway, check out my boot camp course. That's all about you and your leadership. It's not about your kids. We don't fix kids. We teach parents. Like I never fixed kids. I had kids I was working with an hour a week. But I knew how to get respect. Was I fixing them, or was it me? Was it them? They were all, I just happened to luck out and get that one good hour every week with them? Or was it my leadership? Which one? Hundreds of kids I've worked with, teenagers, troubled teens, detention centers, psych wards, everywhere. I managed to get respect with them all. Was it them or me? Leadership is powerful because they like themselves when they're with you. You know how to I don't put up with any crap, believe me. You deal with bad behavior, but then you focus on the good kid. Make them like themselves when they're with you. It's very powerful. You want that. You want them to like themselves when they're with you. You don't want them to be just your little obedient soldiers. That's ridiculous. Who'd want that? Well, I guess the old-fashioned authority-style parent would, but that's not what I want at all. I want them to have a voice. Believe me, my kids had a voice. If I did something they didn't like, they'd go, Mom, what do you think about, remember the other day, don't you think you were a little bit hard on this? And I go, I know. What do you want? What do you want? So they had a voice. You want that. Anyway, I got to go over to TikTok now. I'm still on YouTube the whole time. If you want to join me over on TikTok, it's Bratbusters Parenting over there. That's my biggest channel, but this Instagram is just as busy of a live, so it's busy over on TikTok too. But anyway, if you check out the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my boot camp course. It's all about you and your leadership. Or you can look at coaching, and you can apply via email. And I can't take everyone on, but we'll go from there. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and we'll talk again soon. Bye now. So many buttons to push. And TikTok starts with ads right away now. Yikes. I'm trying to shut that down before it happens. There we go. There we go. Okay, so let me see on, is there such a thing as an overconfident 10-year-old? I feel sometimes she's overcompensating. I have no idea what you mean by that. What do you mean by that, overcompensating? Bravado? A little bit arrogant? You mean like that? That's all insecurity, by the way. So that's not confidence at all. Is that what you mean? Bravado and arrogance? I don't know quite what you mean. Okay. Okay, welcome. We're just getting people coming in now. Taylor, you're a regular, aren't you? Mercedes Smith, that looks familiar too. Shih Tzu, I used to have a Shih Tzu. They pronounce it Shih Tzu now. I remember we used to call it the other. Anyway, she was a darling little thing. She was a tiny little 6-pound Shih Tzu. Oh God, she was cute. It's back in the 80s. She always had her tongue out. And she was tan, but she had a little black face and a black tip on the end of her tail. She was particularly cute. Not that it matters. I've had some really ugly dogs too, and I love them too, because that was my my first and last dog I ever bought. Every dog after that was a rescue. So, and I always get adults, so you don't have them for that long, unfortunately, because, but anyway. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. I was just talking about dogs. Arrogant. Yeah, she needs to be taken down a peg. It's the arrogant. This is the overconfident 11-year-old. I said, is it confidence or is it arrogance? And she said arrogance. Yeah, work on your leadership skills, and it settles them down, because then they become more confident. Confident people are not arrogant. It doesn't go together. So yeah, work on your leadership skills, and that will calm her down. Check out the boot camp course, or if you want, you can look at coaching. And if you're interested, you have to apply, because I can't take everyone on. I'm busy these days. But if you're in crisis, not you, but if you're in crisis, especially with teen stuff, I specialize in teen crisis work, or any crisis work, actually. So if it's life and death crisis stuff, put crisis in the subject line if you want to hire me for coaching, because I'll take you on no matter what. And a 4-year-old who has tantrums every single day, you know who you are. They put down crisis in the subject line. That is not crisis. I know to you it felt like it, but you know what I mean. Oh my God, this was so cute. I got to tell you this funny story. I've told it a million times. It was over a week ago now. Anyway, I was working with this darling couple, and they just have an 8-year-old girl. And she decided she didn't like that behavior board anymore. And she knows that I'm that woman who, they hired to make this behavior board. So you know what she said to them? She's 8 years old. She says, "You guys are great parents. You don't need that woman anymore." And she tore down the behavior board. Parents put it back up, and now they're doing a really good job. But wow, that's very clever. She buttered them up to get rid of me. I was so impressed with that. Is that the cutest thing? Oh God, I love that. And I said to the parents right away, "Can I tell this story?" And they said, "Oh yeah, for sure. It was a good one." Because they told me she's very clever. And I thought, yeah, everyone says that. That's pretty clever. Oh, sorry. Oh, adjusting a newly 3-year-old to a newborn, you can't do it. How can you possibly explain to a 3-year-old what it's going to be like having a new baby in the house? Most adults can't relate to it. So it just takes time. There's really nothing you can do. I've never, ever heard of anyone coming up with a great idea. You take them to the hospital when the baby's born, and they're holding their new little baby brother and said, "I love you," and you go, "Oh, they're just going to be wonderful." And they get home and they throw them in the garbage. I mean, they're like, "You mean this thing was coming home and screaming and smelling and taking my mommy and daddy away from me?" They'll adjust eventually, okay? Just the normal stuff. Maybe get them a baby to help, maybe, and then have them sit in your lap or sit right beside you while you're breastfeeding, read them a book, all that normal stuff. But overall, it's a transition time. It's an adjustment time. It's going to take time. Time is the key word there. It's going to take time. I just want to say thank you for your content. You're very welcome. I love what I do. Imagine loving, I've been doing this since I was 11. I've been volunteering with kids. I started at 11 volunteering with kids. So imagine spinning that into a business, spinning your passion into a business. I did that 17 years ago, but imagine that. It's amazing. I guess that would be like an artist making money off, being able to make money doing what they love. It's like that. So I feel very lucky. My favorite thing in my business is coaching, by far, because I get to know them. It's personal, and then you see the results. I'll tell you, I'm on a high after that. I just love, not the first week or two, that's the struggle, but by week 3 and onward, then it's very exciting. I just want to say I'm in awe of your confidence to go looking beyond to live looking the way you do. What's that, Grandma? To live looking the way you do. So I got a lot of confidence to live looking like this. I'm guessing it's a compliment. Thank you very much. So I'm in my 60s now, and your looks you get very realistic about how you look, because I'm going down the other side on the bell curve. In my 50s, I hated my 50s. Well, I'm menopausal. I put on 40 pounds. I dropped it all off again. But I put on 40 pounds in my 50s, and I was very aware that, I'm going down the other side of the bell curve now. Now I'm sliding down happily. I've accepted it. So my 60s, I love my 60s. Aging is weird because you're still the same in here, but you got a lot of wisdom. You got a lot of experience. It's just I don't know. It's hard to explain. Okay. Okay. 5-year-old with older sisters drags getting ready for school to become a kind of morning mood. Okay. Get a behavior board, put it up on the wall, and the rule is follow school morning routine. And then have a routine written out below on a piece of paper, and then have a time limit on it, though. And there's all sorts of different ways of working it, but then have a consequence if they don't follow it. Okay. So you can do the consequence after school. So say, well, if we don't have a good school morning routine, there won't be any devices after school except for homework. And I'll be watching the screen to make sure you're just doing homework. It can be that easy. They have to earn screen time by following school morning routine. It's a little bit different than the behavior board. I can manipulate it many different ways. In coaching, I work at a lot of different ways in coaching, but generally it's a consequence, and you don't usually go to the taking screen time away, but they have to earn it by following a school morning routine. It can be done that way. It can be done lots of other ways. How did you learn about communicating to children to give them the option instead of choosing? Well, I don't know what you mean by that. Give them the option instead of choosing? I don't know what you mean. Honestly, I don't know what you mean by that. Is it give them the option instead of you choosing? I'm curious about that. I didn't give kids a lot of choices. I did. I said, you can do whatever you want, but if you make a bad choice, and you know what that is, if you make a bad choice, there'll be a consequence because I'm your mom. That's my job. So that's how I did it. But if they wanted to get dressed and they wanted to look a certain way, I'd say, well, sure, you can get dressed, but it still has to be within 5 minutes. I didn't let them choose to be difficult, if that's what you mean. I think nowadays, parents tend to think that they're doing their kids a service by giving them all sorts of choices, but they do it in the wrong way. They give them choices on what they wear. They give them choices on what they eat. Sometimes you just got to say, we're having this for dinner. You're wearing that to school. Yeah, it's interesting. That's the please your parents style. That came in about 30, 40 years ago. Total disaster. It came in with participation awards, which kind of sums up the whole mentality of the please your parent. They just turn up and get an award. I remember once I used to have a call. I used to do a lot of mainstream media. Like I had, newspapers, TV, radio. I did all that just as a parenting expert. They'd hire me on. Anyway, so I wrote this article once because in the newspaper, there was this article that came out. This mom had gone to the school. She was trying to sue them somewhere down the States in America. She was trying to sue the school for not giving her kid a participation award in school sports day. The kid didn't even go. But she still wanted her child to get a participate. And she goes, they ruined her child's self-esteem. Well, she's ruined it. But anyway, I wrote an article on that. And I attacked that. I thought that was the stupidest thing. I said, you're going to raise self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. Like, talk about messing your kids up. Anyway, that's the please your parent. Hopefully it's going out of style. But it was invented to make the mom feel good. It never had anything to do with the kids. Nothing. It was all for the mom. Do you offer coaching for parents of neurodivergent kids? I never quite know what you mean by that. It can mean, it's a very broad statement, and lots of people use it in different ways. So I don't know what you mean. But I've worked with kids with all sorts of handicaps, disabilities, behavioral issues. The only things that I don't have any control over is drug addiction and what's the other one? Eating disorders. I work with a lot of parents who have teenagers who have those issues, but I can't solve those problems. Those are big medical issues, right? But yeah, neurodivergent, that's a very broad term. But yeah. Check out coaching if you're interested. Yeah. I feel I'm a leader with my 4-year-old, but still often screams at me or hits me, always disciplining her. Yeah, you're not a leader. They don't do that at 4. By 4, they only do what works. 3.5 to 4, they only do what works. That means that it must work. It must get you upset. Leaders don't get upset. So yeah, if they hit me or something, I'd say, didn't like that. There's going to be a consequence for that. Do you understand? That's how I deal with it. So it's got to work. They only do what works. They're not stupid like us, like adults. We keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Okay, maybe you don't, but I do this all the time. I'm just really dumb that way. So kids don't do that though. They only do what works. They move away from what doesn't work and they move into what does. They're extremely adaptable. So yeah, if your 4-year-old is screaming at you, you're not a leader. That's okay. You can learn. It's a skill anyone can learn. Some people said, a couple people in the last week have said this. They said, I'm not a natural leader. So how can I lead? And I say, well, neither am I. I'm a follower in my personal life. If I like someone and look at and respect them, I'm very much the follower. I don't want to decide where I go to eat, where we're going on the weekend. I don't even want to decide restaurant. You tell me what to eat. I'm very much a follower. Like I look for a leader because I don't want to make any decisions in my personal life. Because in my business life, I'm a leader, right? And with kids, anyone can be a leader with kids. That's the thing. Love your children enough to be a leader for them. Anyone can learn how to lead children, even if you're not a leader in your personal life. That's why I told you that. I'm not at all. In my personal life, I'm very much a follower. But in my business, with children, I'm a leader because they need that. I give them what they need. I love children, so I give them what they need. They need a leader. Without it, they're lost. They're absolutely lost. They'll go crazy in the teen years without a leader. If you're a leader, you're not telling them what to do, but they're going to come tell you everything. They're going to run by. They can't not tell you everything when you're a leader. Right through the teen years. So yeah, you don't need to be a leader in your personal life. Like I said, oh my God, this was so cute. I just told this story recently. It's an older story, but I just brought it up again a few times recently. I had this one client and she was very, very soft-spoken, very sweet. And she didn't say anything in the first 2 sessions. She just kept looking down. She'd look up and then she'd look down. And I don't know why I didn't. Usually I'm very, why are you not asking? Come on, you're paying me all this money. Ask me questions. That's usually my style. So I don't know why. I didn't say anything to her. And then I said, okay, we're wrapping up for now. And you got any questions? And she was really struggling with her kids. And that's why she hired me. She was going through a lot. And the only reason I know that is because she wrote it down. She never told me anything in the code. It was really weird. So in the 3rd session, she turns up looking like this. And I said, what's going on? She goes, it's working. And I said, what's working? And she goes, she showed me. She wrote down everything I said and she just did it. I've never had anyone do that before. She didn't question anything. She didn't, nothing. She wrote it all down and did it. She was very into learning. She was like, I think she taught something at university or something. She was very high up academically and PhDs, WXYZs, whatever. And she was a learner, very good studier. And she goes, I study something and I apply it. And that's all she did. She studied everything I said in the plan. Isn't that strange? I don't learn like that at all. That was brilliant. Anyway, she did great, but she just did it. She's very quiet. She's not a leader at all. She was that's what reminded me of it. She was very quiet, very shy, but she just followed everything I said. It's interesting. And it worked. With your coaching sessions, is there always success after 5 sessions? Absolutely not. I'll get some really challenging clients who just fight it. They just can't change. So I say, look, let's stop now because you're not ready to hear what I'm telling you. I get pretty harsh with this. Don't waste your money. So I'll often stop after the first session or 2 if they're like that. It happens maybe once every year or 2. I'll get someone like that. And then I'll say, let's pick it up again in a month. And then we'll pick it up again. But not everyone's ready to hear what I say. Not everyone's ready to apply it. A lot of people, especially with teenagers, they have a lot of resentment towards their teenagers. So they're not ready to follow through with my advice. But if you're ready to follow through, yeah, you're usually going to see some success. But we're dealing with human beings here. There's no guarantees with any of this. None. But I would say most of my clients have some success, yes. And a lot of them it's just a matter of how well, like this one, if you just apply what I say, you usually get success. Because it just works. Because you're giving respect to get it. You're not demanding anything of your kids. You're giving them respect to get it. Think about the pool story. If you've seen that story, think about that. That's the epitome of everything I teach is that pool story. The video is called Example of Leadership Parenting. And it was just a couple of weeks ago. If you just type in Bratbusters Example of Leadership Parenting, it's the pool story. It explains everything I do. It just explains exactly my mentality with children. I want them, I deal with bad behavior, then I focus on the good kid. And then that's all you end up getting is the good kid. Where you put your energy, where you put your focus is what grows. But you don't let bad behavior go either. There's a difference. Anyway, okay. Well, okay, I'm not going to read that out. There's lots of other parenting methods out there. The only ones I ever refer to, because I don't know what's out there, I am very careful about that. I stay in my lane. I'm kid taught. I've never read a book on parenting or kids. Why on earth would I read what someone else has wrote? Kids, I went right to the source. I figured it out myself with kids. Anyway, I teach leadership, and it's just my own style. I just invented this. I just would call it that. I don't know what it is, but anyway, I call it leadership. And but the old-fashioned authority style parenting back in the day, 50 years ago, whatever, not a bad way to parent. But those kids rebel in the teen years, but they come out fine the other end, and they respect their parents for what they did for them. They appreciate them. Now, the pleaser parent style is a disaster. It's the trendy style that's out right now. There's lots of different methods under it, I'm sure. But anyway, I call it the pleaser parent style. You're trying to please them. You're trying to talk about all the big feelings, all the big emotions all the time, trying to give them choices all the time, discussing everything. You're trying to please them. All they're hearing is this. You're all whiny. It's just awful. It's a total disaster. You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. They never respect you. They rebel in the teen years, and they come out the other end a disaster. They're very weak victims. I'm exaggerating, yes, but that's generally how I explain it. And then the leader, you're best friends with your kids. They look up to you. They feel great about themselves when they're with you. You never have to discipline. They're self-disciplining. They tell you everything. It's kind of easy. And it also, I don't know. Parenting was the most fun I ever had. I miss it. I really do. I'm a grandparent now, but it's not the same because they're not mine. I have to hand them back. Can I have my daughter now? No. Well, you have to hand them back. Yeah, I knew I wouldn't like it as much as parenting. I love her as much as I love my own kids, but it's not as much fun because I don't get to bring her home. You know what I mean? And that's what grandparents like about it. But if parenting is the most fun you ever had in your whole life, being a grandparent, you have to hand them back. They're somebody else's kid. Oh, God. Love your content, but how is it a problem to ask your toddler what shirt they want to wear? I didn't say it was a problem. I said it was overdone. It's overdone. I didn't say it was problematic or a problem. No, it's overdone. If there's no problem, my kids could have dressed themselves and worn whatever they want. But if they were being difficult about it, I would have got them. I would have put on whatever I said. They knew that. Yeah, you give them so many choices that they get to the point where they think, well, you don't know what you're doing. You know, do you want to go to school or don't you? That's all they hear. Do you want to wear your seatbelt or can you just fly around the car? You know, it's overdone. Yeah, don't overdo it. Anyway, I got to get going. Thanks so much for joining me. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, which is all focused on you and your leadership. Remember, you lead, they will follow. And then you can also check out coaching. I can't take everyone on these days. I'm very busy. But you can apply by email if you want to hire me for coaching. So thanks so much for joining me, and we'll talk again soon. Bye now.